You are chosen. On this Friday, you become who you were always meant to be. Listen, because this is not a slogan, but a careful notice arriving like a hand at the edge of your day. And it asks you to stay with what the room in front of you already knows. The words in the title are a small compass. You felt them first as a pressure under the collarbone that would not be named, a quiet rearrangement in the breathing that whispered the news before language caught up. The hour you are in is neither mistake nor accident. It is an interior appointment that has been approaching through ordinary days, through the slow insistence of mornings that do not match your old answers. You notice the mismatch in tiny ways. A reply left unsent, a step slowed at the doorway, a prayer repeated in the dark with the phone turned face down so the world could not speak first. This is not about becoming someone different for the sake of applause. It is about receiving a form already made for you in patience and returning to it as a practice, not a performance. Stay with me here, because what I will name will make sense to the body. And when the body recognizes a truth, the mind and the spirit follow without coercion. There is an ancient gentleness in the timing of this change. It does not rush, it does not threaten, it simply aligns. Hear this now. You are not late, you are not wrong, you are chosen, and this Friday carries the kind of small, real turning that shifts a life rather than only a schedule. Keep listening, because the signs are precise and the ceremony is quiet, and you will know them when they meet your chest. You know the tiredness, the slow heaviness that sits behind the eyes at noon, the small habit of checking the same message twice as if repeating it would change its meaning, the way your shoulders have learned to hold strain so long they stop notifying you of their ache. In the kitchen, the cup cools because your hands moved away before satisfaction arrived. In the car, a familiar route feels like an old costume you put on and outgrew silently. These textures of fatigue are not merely physical. They carry the imprint of a longer waiting that has become mistaken for ordinary life. You have been doing this attention. You need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. Sensible things, while the interior compass shifted direction. You pay the bills, you show up at work, you pray the short prayers that keep you polite with God and other people. But inside, a line is drawn. Some movements no longer fit. Certain explanations feel thin. Names you used to accept as identity feel borrowed. This is what it looks like in the body. Quick throat clearing when someone asks what you do next. A hollow at the base of the breastbone that conversations with old friends do not touch. The private sentence you will not say aloud because it would alter everything if spoken. Before any instruction arrives, the body must be heard. The body already tells the truth about the readiness that is growing in you. What I will say now is the script of what is happening. This is not a random season. It is a signal of choosing, restoration, and allowance, and it brings with it a modest set of promises that will be seen if you keep listening. By the end, you will recognize 3 things. A quiet removal of what was always meant to fall away, a return of a small authority over your own days, and the arrival of tasks that are exact and local rather than large and generic. These promises are not magic. They are patterns of formation that have been working under the visible life for some time. When the promises come, they will look domestic, an unexpected clarity in a conversation, a permission to decline without apology, and a sudden readiness to do what you were already gifted to do. None of these are rewards for performance. They are confirmations from a life being reconfigured around a truer shape. Let the thesis settle. What felt like delay may have been careful preparation. What felt like abandonment may have been sheltering. And what felt like confusion may have been attention forming you to receive a precise calling. The contract I offer is simple and practical. Notice, receive, practice. These three movements will be the scaffolding of the change. Picture a concrete hour. A rainy Friday morning in the kitchen, the window blurred with drops, your cup of coffee cooling because you stepped away to read a single message that made the palms of your hands go quiet. The table is small, the chair is reliable, the light in the room is not dramatic, it is ordinary and honest. There is a voice in the next room, a television talking about schedules, but you are listening to a different calendar that belongs to your chest. It ticks in small notches that the world cannot measure. On that table, an envelope you had meant to open sits slightly bent, as if waiting not for paper but for your arrival in a new posture. You notice the way your fingers find the rim of the cup and then release it, not out of distractedness, but as if some inner permission has been given for you to hold a different kind of attention. The scene is small because all real shifts begin in small places. They do not require grand landscapes. They require exact interior readiness. See the kitchen light and the rain, and know that the ordinary room can hold an extraordinary appointment. The moment you recognize you have been chosen to become who you were meant to be. You are the chosen listener because of the tender edges you carry, not because of any visible achievement. Your sensitivity has been misunderstood as weakness, when it is actually the capacity for discernment. The way you notice small injustices, the way you hold a phone too long before replying, the odd grief that arrives at neutral songs. These mark you as someone who receives formation differently. This is not a call to romanticize suffering, but to value the way your interior life has been a quiet school where patience and attention have been learned. Your discernment has been building like a slow architecture of the soul, bricks of nights you did not speak, mortar made of small refrains, windows cut by choices to remain present rather than perform. That difference matters because the call this Friday requires interior taste rather than technique. It needs someone who knows when silence is permission and when silence is a wound. You were prepared not because you asked to be prepared, but because the life around you needed a steward who could carry soft authority. Recognize it now. Being chosen feels like a responsibility to receive a shape you did not make, and you are ready for that weight because you have already learned how to hold quiet things. There is an opposition that has tried to keep this change bound. The steady pressure of urgency that always asks for faster answers. The people who mean well but keep you small by demanding your attention as if it were their right. And the ancient habit of proving worth through visible output. These forces will appear as ordinary obligations that ask you to trade a new rhythm for an older, faster one. The opposition is not dramatic, it is banal. And that is why it is effective, a barrage of small requests, an insistence on immediate replies, a calendar filled with other people's emergencies disguised as shared cares. You will be tempted to meet them on their terms because meeting them feels like competence, and competence has been a refuge. The real cost of obeying those pressures is subtle, a slow forgetting of what you were called to receive, a fraying of the particular gifts that require quiet time, and the flattening of the taste that discerns signal from noise. This opposition will not shout. It will simply keep the day busy enough that the Friday of your becoming passes like any other workday. See the thinness of this enemy and name it. Distraction that feels like meaningful labor. Listen with me to a biblical echo that is not sermon but companion. There is an image of a shepherd who recognizes a voice in a field that others ignore, a voice that calls and is answered with a leaving of old cares for a new tending. That story is not a distant text, but a map for what is happening in your chest. Like the shepherd, you are being asked to leave the comfortable pattern of tending what is familiar for the quiet work that matches your gifts. The echo teaches restraint. The call may not arrive with trumpets. It may come as one small notice that becomes impossible to ignore. It also teaches mercy. A shepherd does not carry entitlement, only attention and care. The biblical image roots this change in an older economy where choosing is less about privilege and more about stewardship. Hearing this parallel should feel like company rather than doctrine. It gives you a lineage for the quietness in your life and a language for the tenderness that has been forming you. If you ignore these signals, the risk is not immediate catastrophe, but a slow narrowing of life. Opportunities that required patience will pass without your readiness. Relationships that needed your precise listening will harden, and what you were meant to steward will be entrusted to someone else who had the space to receive it. Ignoring the signal looks like polite survival, a life that functions but no longer flourishes. There is a cost to pretending everything is normal. The small authority you were building erodes, subtle callings calcify into regrets, and your body continues to remind you of what the mind discounts. This is sober, not fearful. The consequence is the quietless life of a person who made room for other people's urgency and left their own vocation unattended. Do not mistake the cost as punitive. It is simply the natural arc of a life that refused an invitation. We name the risk so you can see it plainly and choose otherwise. Turn now, reframe the signs you have been feeling as confirmations rather than coincidences, and notice how the small tokens of the day begin to align into pattern and invitation. The message you almost deleted becomes the nudge that clarifies a next step. The awkward conversation reappears as a doorway instead of a trap. The fatigue in the chest becomes a signal rather than a problem to be fixed at all costs. This paragraph pauses so you can read the room in your own life. The language we used in the title is real and operative, and the numerical trigger I'm about to give you is a symbol to return to this space. Spell it out gently in the comments and come back to me after. The code is the single word chosen, written exactly as it sounds in English, and when you write it, you are not performing for others, but returning to your own witness inside this hour. After you write it, come back here and continue listening, because the pattern deepens and the instructions are quiet but exact. The conflict runs deeper than schedule and distraction. It reaches into identity and the old strategies you learned to belong. You learned to adapt early, to shape your answers to fit the room, to wear a version of yourself that was legible and safe. That survival pattern has been useful, but it now competes with a truer formation that asks for singularity over palatability. The inner negotiation is not between good and bad, but between correction and habit. It asks you to give up some outer ease for interior integrity. Recognize the way your mind offers rationales, reasons why now is not a good time, why obligation must come first, and notice how the body responds by tightening the shoulders and quickening the breath. This is a normal dance of growth. Part of you wants the old trade, part of you wants to be entrusted. Name the competing loyalties and let them be visible so they can be addressed rather than unconsciously obeyed. Here is the root. The fear to fully obey the small next thing has kept you performing rather than returning. It is not a dramatic sin, but an ordinary hesitation. The quiet thought that staying safe is better than the risk of being wholly known. The root looks like sentences you repeat to yourself. Later, better timing, not yet. Those words are protective, but they also prevent the precise obedience that turns formation into life. Name the root without shame. Naming is the first step toward a different practice. The good news is that the root is old and has patterns. With small, repeatable practices, it can be reshaped. You will not be asked for heroic leaps, only consistent tiny returns that accumulate into a new gravity around your days. Inside you, the mind, body, and spirit have been working at cross purposes. The mind rationalizes the risk, the body shows the ache, and the spirit knows there's a door that opens only from the inside. The mind will give you many plausible reasons to delay. The body will show its impatience or its fatigue. The spirit will persist with a patient clarity that feels like home. Distinguish anxiety from discernment. Anxiety demands immediate resolution and often escalates noise, while discernment asks for quiet and checks small edges with attention. When you notice restlessness that grows louder instead of clearer, name it as anxiety and offer it a practice. When the quiet inside you remains steady, even as the world presses, name it as discernment. These differences matter because the wrong guide will keep you busy, not aligned. Some people and places will resist your change because they were built around the old shape that you wore. This is not their failing, it is structural. Certain friends will ask you to remain available in ways that were once reciprocated but are now draining. Certain rooms will hum with an energy that resists the new rhythm. Discernment here is not suspicion, it is stewardship. You will learn which conversations to shorten, which commitments to decline, and which relationships need reorientation rather than removal. The practice is gentle and firm. Set limits that preserve the quiet your formation needs while remaining compassionate toward those you love. You are not called to cut off the world, but to keep a margin that allows the small, exact tasks of your calling to breathe. Name the opposition's strategy. It fills the calendar with noise. It plants doubt in the form of plausible urgencies. It slowly converts sacred pauses into productivity checks, and it disguises distraction as necessity. The strategy is not mean-spirited. It is simply efficient at keeping attention away from interior formation. When you see your day folded into other people's timelines, you are witnessing the strategy at work. Respond by making one small, non-negotiable window of return that cannot be invaded by default. That is the tactical move that resists a quiet empire of busyness. A threshold arrives now. You will notice a day when you stop explaining and start receiving. This turning point is not loud. It is a day you do a small thing differently and then do it again. On that day, your heart will register permission and the body will release an old tension it had been carrying without complaint. The turning point feels like a breath that does not have to justify itself, a small surrender that becomes a stable posture. It is the moment when the script of your life slowly accepts a new editor, the part of you that has been waiting for permission to keep its own time. We introduce a single, sustained metaphor now. Imagine a lamp kept under a small bowl for years because the room preferred soft, familiar shadows instead of sudden brightness. The bowl was protective at first, a sensible cover against fragile light and curiosity, and over time the lamp forgot its purpose and learned to live only in the shelter. The bowl did not seem cruel. It was the ordinary solution to noise and to unwanted notice. But the lamp always contained light in the form it was meant to give. Its glass remembered heat, and the cord remembered how to connect to power. The lamp under the bowl is you before this Friday, contained, safe, dimmed by habit. The metaphor will now live across several paragraphs so you can live into it and name your resistance and return by its images. Long ago, the lamp chose to be small because the household rhythms demanded it. A neighbor's complaint, a parent's caution, a teacher's correction. Each placed a hand on the bowl until it felt like the bowl was the natural ceiling of your life. In adolescence and early work, the bowl felt sensible. Keep low so you avoid hard questions and lighter noise. Those formations helped you survive in difficult rooms. They are not bad. They are adaptations. But they also taught the lamp to forget that it was capable of brightening a room. The old formation folded light into survival and the living memory of heat, thinned to a faint glow. Recognize that the bowl's protection shaped you in small, practical ways, and that those same ways now resist the lamp's true function. Inside the metaphor, the bowl is being nudged. A small crack begins to appear where a finger of conviction pressed often enough at the rim. This opposition is subtle, a gust of wind that slipped under the edge during a late conversation, a gentle insistence in your chest that the lamp can do more than warm the inside of the bowl. You will feel this as a loosening, a small permission that arrives not as instruction, but as release. The household may not notice at first. The lamp alone feels the air change and breathes differently. Tension remains because the bowl remembers all the reasons for its hold, and it will murmur its warnings, but the crack is proof that protection is giving way to readiness. The lamp begins to move. It registers that the bowl is not indispensable, and with that recognition, a new readiness courses through the cord and filament. The movement is not sudden, it is a slow tilt, the lamp adjusting its weight, testing the balance of brightness against fear. You sense the filament warming in memory, not with anxiety, but with the calm knowledge of capacity. The movement looks like a slight raising of the head in a room that has been trained to avoid notice, a small act of turning toward the socket and remembering that connection is possible. This is the inner rhythm that signals the approach of Friday's shift. Pause here and write the short phrase that names this return for you, then come back to me. The phrase is a present tense sentence in English, consisting of 3 simple words that anchor this movement in your life. And after you write it, return to the listening because the script continues to guide the practice. When you write that phrase, you are not performing for anyone else. You are making a small covenant with your own interior witness, and that written act helps the body accept the new posture. After you write the phrase, return to the narration and allow the practices to settle in your hands and in your day. This is not a movement toward achievement, but a return to original function. The lamp does not become anything other than what it was made to be. It simply reclaims the posture it had before the bowl was necessary. The solution is not to prove worth, but to receive reinstatement. Return is gentle and exact. It asks you to stop negotiating with what has already been revealed. You will find that obedience here is less about proving and more about receiving what has been entrusted. The demeanor of return is humble and practical. It asks you for small repetitions rather than dramatic conversions. Practice 1. Create a morning seal for yourself, a 5-minute threshold at the edge of the day where you sit with a cupped cup, breathe deliberately, and say the single sentence that names the small next thing you will do today. Describe the scene with care, where you place the cup, how your hands settle, the texture of breath in the throat, the slight activation of the fingers as you set an intention and close your eyes for a mindful beat. This is not a ritual of performance. It is a tactical anchor that aligns attention with calling. When practiced daily, it rewires the lamp to rise before the world demands it. Practice 2. Adopt a peace audit at midday, where you check without apology 3 things that either drain or expand your peace. A certain message thread, a meeting that steals time, a habit that keeps you answering other people's calendars. And then enact one small limit. The scene is simple: a pause at your desk, the phone face down, a clear sentence you tell yourself, and the small act of sending one brief message that protects your margin. This practice trains the household around you to recognize the new posture and teaches your body that limits are not injury, but protection. Divine protection will show up as practical limits you can hold. Doors that stay closed for reasonable hours, a permission to delay responses that used to feel urgent, and a felt sense that you can say no and remain beloved. This protection is not guaranteed like a promise that everything will be easy. It is a steady presence that supports small obedience and keeps you from exhausting the reservoir the lamp needs to shine. The limit is mercy in action. The household learns to respect the lamp when it consistently insists on its time. Name a decision now. Stop negotiating with others' timelines as if your identity depends on their approval, and keep a daily window that is yours for formation. This is not a dramatic renunciation, but a governance of your time and care. The decision looks like serenity when you say no once, again and again. It looks like a posture of someone who knows the value of margin. Stewardship, not striving, will be your new operative grammar. If this has landed in you, place a like as an amen in silence, not a metric, but a private agreement with the movement you feel. Let that small gesture be your witness without needing words. Receive the density of this moment in your chest, and let the like be a sealed nod between your interior and the life that has been waiting. This agreement does not require others' notice. It is a quiet covenant you make in the body and in the breath. Someone came to mind as you listened, a face that appears with 2 or 3 clear qualities: steady hands, a quiet courage, and an unexpected tenderness that softens edges without flinching. That person is not sent by chance. They are part of the field that will confirm your steps. Describe their presence to yourself, the way they stand in a doorway, the small laugh that lands like a blessing, the way they hold a silence so it can speak later. If sharing matters, consider who you will tell about this Friday, not as news but as accompaniment. The presence of an ally will make the practical steps less austere and more human. Now offer the identity declaration that has been forming. Speak into the unknown quiet, the sentence that confirms what has been unfolding. A short phrase in English that is a settled agreement of what you are allowed to become. And say it aloud when you are ready, because saying it names the new gravity your days will orbit. This declaration is not a wish, but a recognition produced by repeated small returns. It is both confirmation and an invitation to the world to treat you differently. Let the words move through your throat and ground in your body as an acceptance of stewardship rather than a performance. Feel the emotional synthesis of the journey, the signal, the resistance, the tiny practices, the protection, the decision. And now the quiet opening that is both tender and exact. The lamp under the bowl has been seen, the crack widened, the light remembered how to rise, and the room is different even before the bulb is fully revealed. Your chest knows the shape of this change, and your hands have begun to practice the small gestures that will sustain it. The people around you will not all notice immediately, but the life you steward will begin to have more clarity and less friction. Embrace the movement as return rather than acquisition, and listen for the small tasks that match you. On Friday, you will do 2 small acts that seal the change. A brief written sentence to yourself that names the calling you cannot bear to lose, and a deliberate boundary you set that protects the time you need to steward it. These acts are simple and domestic. A short note on the kitchen table, a calendar mark that is kept secret for formation, a small message that says no without explanation. When you perform them, the household will receive new information, and your body will register that the lamp is permitted to rise. Trust the modesty of these acts. They are the architecture of sustained change. Receive this blessing. May you awaken into a day that recognizes your slow readiness. May your body keep the hour you have held. May your decisions be steady and merciful. May your small obediences accumulate into a life of service. May limits become gentle protectors rather than walls. May companionship arrive in good time and in honest faces. May your lamp remember its purpose and shine without apology. Across the world, others will be making their small returns in rooms you will never see, and yet your steps will be joined with theirs in a quiet lineage of recovery and service. Keep the 3 practices near you: the morning seal, the midday peace audit, the small boundary that guards formation, and keep repeating them until they are part of the furniture of your life. When the temptation to prove yourself returns, Remember the bowl and the lamp, and choose the work of steady, ordinary reclaiming. You were prepared slowly and gently. Receive what has been given without hurry and without doubt. It is sealed. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuzazara readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.